It's that time of year again. The crisp, cool weather, the smell of sweet desserts on the table, and thoughts of our loved ones coming together. It's the holiday season, and we're always being reminded of what we have to be thankful for. Between the shopping malls, holiday parties, and trips to Grandma's house, we are always on the go as well. That's why Pitt County has teamed up with the North Carolina Highway Patrol to help make sure your holiday travel stays safe, whether it's over the river and through the woods or just up the street. Trooper Jeff Collins, Traffic Safety Information Officer with the Highway Patrol, says when on the road, the best way to avoid accidents is to keep your speed in check.
Speed is a major contributor to traffic collisions, and many times people, I think, become overconfident in their driving abilities and the lack of understanding of how speed magnifies driver's error. So we would really love to see people voluntarily comply with the speed limits.
Should the worst happen, Collins says finding the best way to prevent serious injury in an accident is as simple as looking over your shoulder.
We never know when accidents will happen, so it's very important that all occupants in the vehicle are buckled up. Front seat, back seat, all occupants are required to be belted. So the biggest thing to prevent injury is to be sure that everyone has their seat belts on.
Many times, the problems we face while on the road can come from the faults of other drivers. In these situations, it's best not to let your emotions get the better of you. Be a defensive driver, not an aggressive one.
Obviously, aggressive driving originates in the emotions and attitudes. We have to be patient. We have different people who are driving on our roads. We have the teenagers, we have the elderly, we have business people. We have all kinds of people, and we're all sharing the same highway. We just ask that everyone be patient, voluntarily comply with the laws, speed especially. Just don't be impatient with people who are driving. Just don't take unnecessary chances.
While defensive driving may come naturally on a large highway surrounded by vehicles, less crowded rural roads can often build a false sense of security. This overconfidence can become a costly mistake.
Many of our collisions occur on the state secondary roads, the two-lane roads, and we're just asking people again to be very conscious of their speeds because roads are typically more narrow. Curves may appear unexpectedly, especially if you're not familiar with the highways, low light conditions. So we really want people to not be overconfident in their driving skills, especially on two-lane highways. If a driver does happen to drop off the road a little bit, do not apply abrupt braking and abrupt steering. That causes vehicles to go out of control. Let off of the gas, gently steer the car back onto the highway. But again, speed is a major contributor to a lot of the crashes that we have on the secondary roads. So we just ask that people would be mindful of the speed limits.
Whether on a small two-lane street or a large open highway, accidents usually happen when we are not giving our full attention to the road.
Distracted driving has been around a long time. We've just recently named it distracted driving, and it doesn't necessarily have to be all phones and electronics. It can be food. It can be other passengers in the car. That's one thing we're encouraging parents that have teenagers to be very careful before you let your teenagers pile in a car with each other, because it's been proven that the more passengers you have in the car, the greater the chances of a fatality occurring. So it's not just the cell phones, which that is a large distraction. Just texting, dialing phones is a major distraction. It's taking your eyes off the road and your attention away from what you should be concentrating on. But there are a lot of things that contribute to distracted driving, and we're just asking everyone to keep their eyes on the road, hands on the wheel, and pay attention to what they're doing.
Also remember that you're sharing the road with many people taking many different modes of transportation. With everything from pedestrians to large trucks to accommodate for, a little patience can go a long way when it comes to the safety of you and those around you.
Everywhere that we drive, we've got different people driving different modes of transportation. You've got bicycles, you've got motorcycles. They're difficult to see. Mopeds, they drive much slower than the typical flow of traffic, but they still have the right to their lanes. Pedestrians, so we all have to look out for one another, to be conscious of your surroundings. Really look before you go changing lanes or pulling out in an intersection that it is clear before you can do so.
Finally, remember that traveling safely begins long before you get into your vehicle. Being a responsible driver means knowing when it's not okay to drive.
Drinking and driving is always a problem. We would love to see it go away, but the best rule of thumb is if you've drank any type of alcohol, don't drive. Don't guess at when you're going to be over the limit, because as alcohol begins to get into your system, the first thing that's affected is judgment. So if you can't make a good judgment call on whether you should be driving or not, we're already starting with a problem. So good rule of thumb is if you drink, don't drive at all. Have a designated driver or some means of transportation if you go somewhere that you're drinking, that you don't have to put yourself in a position that you drive after having consumed.
With a little precaution and some consideration for those around you, traveling this holiday season can be a safe and fun activity.
As the holidays approach, we're going to have a lot of things going on, and we just ask people to take their time, be patient, please obey the speed limits, wear your seat belts, and put the phones down.
If you would like more information on highway safety or the Highway Patrol, you can visit their page on the North Carolina Department of Public Safety's website at www.ncdps.gov. To report an accident or request assistance while traveling, simply dial *HP on your mobile phone.